I'd really like to explore that at this moment in time, because there's a lot of people that think that you need to seek the energy outside of yourself, but you allowed your heart to open up. You were dying at that moment and you gave yourself over, so it was like a rebirth happening at that moment. So it's very important that we clarify exactly what happened at that moment in time.
You really want to make me cry, right?
I really want to experience that moment so we could really understand that moment in time, because it's very, very important for people to understand that.
Well, it's the Christ energy. Like I said, it was the Holy Week, and I don't know if it has anything to do with that, but I was laying there and I felt like Jesus Christ on the cross. I felt his pain. Christ and I, we were one at that moment. There was no difference, and I was on my cross. This was my cross. And I felt this compassion for this being who came on earth, who was so beautiful, and people have misunderstood his work. Such a beautiful master. Yes, he's the Son of God, but we are children of God too, and he said that. It was so beautiful. The moment it happened, first of all, I have to explain to you, to everyone, that the physical symptoms, what was happening. I was white as a ghost. I saw myself when I walked in. I was just coming back from the chemo, and I started feeling fainting. And I just happened to cross a mirror, and I saw myself in the mirror, and I got scared. And I was starting to feel that I was losing consciousness, and I saw myself, I looked like white. And I right away lay down on the couch and I called my husband, and then I could feel it, and my pressure was dropping and I was losing consciousness. Suddenly I felt like I was agonizing, and I was like in deep, deep, deep pain. I felt like knives crossing all over my intestine and pouring everything apart, and my organs. I can't describe what was. I was dying. I was having a very severe adverse reaction. I couldn't even cry. I was agonizing in pain. And then I felt, like I said, the pain that Jesus felt on the cross. And I said, I actually talked to Jesus in that moment. And I said to you, Jesus, I said, my pain is nothing compared to what I live right now. But I said, please spare me, take it away from me. And it was, I think, probably because it was so genuine and so coming from such the soul that he came, and the pain just went away.
And your skin and deep from within you, it was so beautiful. These photographs were so angelic. It's so fantastic.
Thank you.
I mean, you could see it. It was amazingly affirming the presence of life and divinity.
Well,
at the same moment in time.
Thank you. It's when you touch by your own divinity and by the Creator, whatever we call it. God has hundreds, thousands of names, whatever we call it, which has been the cause for so many religions. It's time now to realize that, all of us. But it's like when you touch by that, even in a moment of that, you could attain enlightenment. And even though I went through health on a physical level, and like I said, I explained a lot more in depth of my journey over 5 years, what I went through. But
from your book,
Wake Up Baby, A Journey of Awakening. But what came out of it, Victoria, is the most beautiful thing.
So tell me about what happened actually at that moment in time.
We were walking down the sidewalk outside the school, and I was walking with my friend Peter. And Peter was telling me that he was taking judo lessons. And at that time, judo was really cool stuff, for kids, and I wanted him to show me. I went head first, right into the concrete, hard, really hard. And boy, talk about pain. Pain incarnate, that's what I call it, because I was just 9 years old. I thought pain at that time was getting soap in your eyes in the bathtub, so, oh boy, but from the tip of my skull down my spine, it just exploded. And I started to run toward the nurse's office, and I let go. At that point, I released the chaos. And as soon as I let go, the pleasurable sensations began. Starting with peace and contentment. And then those feelings started amplifying until it was just utter bliss. It was so beautiful. Oh, it was beautiful.
Incredible love, a love-based, unconditional loving energy.
That's a good place to start. It was an emotional scene that I went through from, this terrible chaos to being incredibly loved and beautiful, and it was so beautiful. And that's when I became aware of a little tiny point of light, right there. And it was intense and brilliant and like a zillion times brighter than the sun. It was so beautiful. And I knew I had to go there, but I don't know how I knew how to, but I did it. And that's where the love was. And I kind of got sucked into this light. It got bigger and more intense and more beautiful. And it sucked me in and spit me out at the other end.
And when you said love, it's love without an invoice,
Right.
love without any demands, love without needing or wanting anything. It's just, as you said before, just being in this here moment of time, not referencing it to anything else on before or after, just a beautiful presence of energy and connecting to that energy to each other. And love is basically very healing and very rejuvenating. And it's basically, my understanding, it equals to what life is. And if you're not in with that feeling of love at that moment, then you're living beside life, or life is frozen, and it's just basically, it's seeming like it's moving forward and going onward, but it's not.
We all need work on that too. We need to learn to receive love.
Opposed to what a lot of people are, maybe the way that they are doing it right now.
Well,
Receiving love would be feeling like,
receiving love is what relationship is all about. Relationship with all of creation, every little teensy fly. There's this love that's unfolding everywhere, all around us, everywhere. And the being of light that absorbed me, he showed, after I did the download, he showed me how utterly critical, how incredibly important it was that I fulfill my purpose. There was no way that creation could unfold without me fulfilling my purpose.
welcome to the Art of Conscious Living. I'm so very pleased today to have as my guest Billy Sunday Mars. He's written a book called Fit for Love, and I'm very, very interested in the subject from all my previous shows before, but this is coming from a male perspective, a very strong perspective. He's an incredible man that has an incredible history, and I'm so pleased to have him here today in the studio.
Thank you very much.
This is incredible work that you are doing and talking about. I'd like to start from the very beginning, right from the very beginning of where before you came across this idea of this book, Fit for Love. What were you like as a young man, and your journey of how did you discover this?
In the early parts of the book, I allow this person to be happy around me, if the woman or a girl at that time to be happy around me. What was it that I had to do to help them be happy? And you'd notice, because you'd say, the smile says it all. If I can make her smile, if I can make her laugh, if I can help her to be happy, there'll be more opportunity to spend time like that. And I think more men have to really look at that. It's taking the time to give her the opportunity to warm up. Now, once she's there, and not until then, if the man is ready to enter, he has to think of it more as, again, the journey of feeling her, and just stop. Even if it's important to eye gaze, to look at each other, and not just say, how much time do we have before we have to be to the next place. The next place is the next place within each other. It's playful. I often joke with people that the problem isn't unprotected sex so much as it's unproductive sex. We know we need protection. We have to be protected. We have to do all that stuff. But if it works more, people will take their time with it because they don't know what they're looking for.
Right. Welcome to the Art of Conscious Living. I am very happy to have back as a returning guest, Billy Sunday Mars. He wrote the book Fit for Love, and today we're going to be discussing possibly about his new book and so much more.
I say to men most of the time, do you grill? And the guy will go, yeah. And I'll
Do
go,
you what?
Grill?
Grill.
Yeah, I got in the backyard barbecue.
Okay.
And I'll say, don't you have to wait for the coals to heat up first before you try to cook? Yes. So then the men go, yeah. And I'll say to the woman, explain it that way. Say, just like when you want to cook something, you have to wait for the oven to heat up. And the woman has to allow herself to receive first, because here's a wonderful thing. There's a wonderful hormone called oxytocin that she has to allow to be released into her system to get rid of the cortisol from the stresses of the day. If there's stress from cortisol, if there's her amygdala firing, which is the fight or flight center in the back of her brain, if that's firing, she can't climax. It takes washing the dishes for her, drawing the bath for her, allowing her to feel, and then she feels nourished. She feels like he cares because he's taking the time to notice things that she needs other than sex itself. And then to go into a massage, and that's another wonderful thing because non-sexual touch also releases oxytocin. She needs that hormone to be able to allow herself to get into the space where she can receive, where she can surrender. And by doing that, we'll breed compassion, as they say, self-reflection does, to understand that we're all looking to experience life and our source on earth, not waiting, not being theoretical about it, but living it day to day and helping each other to do the same. This is what I want people to know. Know yourself, know your partner, understand other people. We can't love what we don't understand. If we understand ourselves, we'll understand others, and we'll all be able to live in a much higher and better way.
Welcome to the Art of Conscious Living. I am very pleased today to have an incredible guest, something very dear to my heart. Lily Oglesby. She works with children. She prepares them for the world at a very, very young age in their grade school, teaching them about gardening, permaculture, nature, and she's also teaching them dance. So your work is very, very beautiful and very, very important. You have a signature on your email, and it's so profound and so beautiful.
Right. It says if we are going to expect children to save the planet, we need to teach them to love it first.
What does this really mean to you?
I think for me it just means so many people, children and adults, are very disconnected from the natural world, and yet there's all this talk, we have to save the oceans, we have to save the forests. There's some people who've never been to the oceans, who've never been in a forest, and so the work that I do, in particular through one of the organizations I work with, Next Generation, is getting kids to the ocean, out in the forests, or just out in their own, schoolyard garden, connecting with the natural world, so that they have that bond, that understanding that lends itself to love of the natural world. Right, yeah, definitely. I mean, and just to roll back as far as what I also try to the message I try to get across to the kids is it all starts with our imagination. You know, we're living one way on this planet, but that doesn't mean it's the only way to live, and you guys are the next generation, and it's about thinking up new and sustainable, and not just sustainable, but thriving, you know, renewable ways to live on the planet that take care of us in a really awesome and healthy way, and take care of the planet, Mother Earth. And so I think, you know, we have it in us. I'm fine, I'm okay, and just trusting that what'll come will come when it comes. You know, and I had that to a degree in the city too, because granted, whether it's nature connection or just what I came into this life with, understanding, I tend to have a trust in that there's a flow to things and a synchronicity, you know, but my nature connection has been invaluable in supporting that trust, you know, and that understanding, so. Well, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Okay.
There's been a lot of writers and great thinkers that have walked that path. Frank Lloyd Wright, he had a total reverence and respect for nature. That was the source energy to him. Whitman. There has been many, many people who are of greats that see that empowerment of that.
Right.
I would also think that the art of meditation, the art of self-realization, the art of quietness, and this is a great example when you are connected to nature. You're disconnecting from the chaos of the mind, the, as you say, the civilization, the neediness, the interreaction that can be the smaller part of the aspects of the human experience.
Right.
And the nature is introducing the children to that, but they may not have the awareness at this point in time about exactly what is happening, but they know there's something, something special and unique here.
Right, right, exactly. Yeah. And the more I can just sort of awaken that in them, I feel like I'm doing my job, and I'm thankful to have that opportunity to share that. And just empower, again, children and adults in that way, you know. Sharing what I've shared with my mother, for example. She's, you know, said thank you to me a few times just for having exposed her to that world and that place of just solace and, you know, peace. Yeah, it helps us to just wash away all that stuff that's kind of nonsense and that doesn't really matter in our life and get very real and on our path. And I think it really, nature connection really supports us on being on our path, whatever that may be. You know, whether you're a doctor or a school teacher or whatever your calling is in this life, it just helps you all the more, supports you in getting aligned with that calling and going for it and trying to, washing away distraction.
Welcome to the Art of Conscious Living. I'm so pleased to have as my guest today David Icke.
I started on this journey, Victoria, 20 years ago this year, consciously, when I had the most extraordinary, what you might call paranormal awakening. And I have been moving through the years, and some force has been handing me pieces in the puzzle, almost in the order to understand it most easily and assimilate it. And it started off where all the pieces in the puzzle and all the synchronicities, all the walking into experiences, walking into people, walking into books, walking into documents, was about how the world is controlled in what I call the five sense reality, this one. They control the banking system, the political system, so that you can vote for someone that says Republican, or you can vote for someone who says Democrat, but you're still voting for the same force that's behind both parties. Same in Britain, same in Europe. They're behind the pharmaceutical cartel, which have no interest in human health. They have interest in pharmaceutical wealth and control. They don't want well people, because well people don't buy drugs, do they? They want sick people, and so they keep inventing new illnesses and all this stuff. And he is controlled by what I call the democons. This is your George Soros's, your Zbigniew Brzezinski's, and all these people, your Rahm Emanuel's. Don't buy a new car off that guy, never mind a used one. And so you've got puppet A, Republican, puppet B, Democrat, Democons, neocons, same force, right? So you can vote for the Democrats, you can vote for the Republicans, it doesn't matter, because whatever you do, you're voting for them. And they're the ones you don't see.
Let's go a little bit back to the beginning. When did you start to realize this? What was your awakening many years ago?
It's a long story, but I was a journalist with the BBC, frontline, what you would call anchor in America. And I was a national spokesman for the British Green Party, which was brilliant for me with hindsight, because it showed me that politics is an irrelevance when it comes to changing anything. Extraordinary paranormal experience.
Oh.
Well, many actually. And
what happened?
For a year, when I was a television presenter and working for the Green Party, when I was in a room alone, I felt like I wasn't. And I was new to all this. I wasn't into religion and the idea that we're all a cosmic accident that science tries to sell us. I mean, please, you get letters after your name for that, you know. I don't know how, but you do.
So you
that didn't
make
make sense to me either. But I was getting on with my life. And, But this presence became more and more tangible as the year unfolded. 1989, we have this kind of telepathic connection, because I explained to him what I want. I said, I want a male lion on the front. I want the world painted on its face, and I want the eyes specifically, very powerfully have to say, don't mess with me. Okay, that's humanity coming out from the lamb and the sheep into the lion, the true self, the true infinite self, the true potential, the true I'm not being a slave, I'm infinite consciousness. I'm being a slave, are you having a laugh? Yeah. This is the awakening. And so that was a very powerful image. And the title, Human Race Get Off Your Knees, The Lion Sleeps No More, has really resonated with people. I am a slave to the system. I get up in the morning, I get the same traffic jam, I go to work, I can't leave to a certain hour because it's a prison. We send children to school, they can't leave between those hours, it's a prison. And I am on my knees, and that's the first step to awakening and getting off your knees. You can put your head in the sand and hope it'll go away. Because someone says there's a tornado coming, put my head in the sand. I can't hear anything, I can't see anything, but your head's in the sand, but your bum's still in the air, and the tornado's still coming. Now, if you lift your head and face it, you can take avoiding action and make sure you're not harmed by it. You stick your head back in that sand, it's coming, and before you know what, you're spinning head over doodah in the sky.
Right.
And this is what we're faced with now, Victoria. We get our heads out of the sand, we face this, knowing the numbers we have, and we say we're not having it. And then it won't happen, because it can't happen if enough of us say no.
Welcome to the Art of Conscious Living. I'm so very pleased today to be able to sit with Peter Van Dyke. He's a program educator for the Peace Program. He's worked in San Quentin for the last couple of decades, and now he's retired. But I'm very, very pleased to sit here today and chat with him about all his wonderful work, Men of Tears.
A man's relationship to his tears, how he learns to relate to tears. Some of the earliest things are, you know, they don't cry, be a man, grow up, I'll give you something to cry about. And so men actually lose contact with their ability to cry and to still be a man. So our human design is that we have all these emotions. But the male role design, what our role is as men, is we're supposed to eliminate some of these emotions. And we're supposed to eliminate tears. You know, if you see, there's a lot of stuff on Obama. When Obama cries, it's headlines across the world. And when John Boehmer cried, the leader, speaker of the House of Representatives, you know, it was like, because it gets so much attention. But the truth is, men still kill each other, men still kill themselves at 3 to 1, the rates of women. And so violence, and it's all related to tears.
You've been an educator in San Quentin prison for the last 18 years, and now you're retired. And you brought the Peace Program there. So what was that all about? And where were feelings and crying and connecting to their pain? Where does that play into all of that?
Well, my education, my background is in psychology and education, educational psychology, which is basically how do people learn. And in about 1986 or 87, I got involved with what they call a batterer's intervention program, which is men that have been arrested for domestic violence, or men that have made that have come there on their own free will, men that are having problems with their relationship with their partner, their intimate partner. And I started working for a program in the context of a facilitator. And within 2 years of working there, one of the directors of the program said, why don't we do something in San Quentin? If men were doing the same level of violence as women do in this country, it wouldn't be an issue at all. But because men are so attached to violence as part of their identity, and what we started doing in the program was when you peel back a man, you start going to what was he like as a boy? And where did he get the operating instructions about how to be a boy and how to be a man? And yeah, there's genetic differences between men and women, but the cultural differences, how boys are trained. We used to say that boys are trained to live in a box, and they're disassociated, they're supposed to disassociate from certain feelings. Sadness, real extreme joys of happiness, you know. It's supposed to be based on other external things, not intrinsic processes. A lot of guys, when they wake up in prison, they wake up and they go, who am I? How did I get here? And so the first thing that we would do, the first thing I would do with the guys is I would say, you know, this is what was done to you. You were given operating instructions. You were given a box of this is how you were supposed to behave. This is, you know, did you ever see this TV show called Dragnet, where it was like, just give me the facts, ma'am. I don't want any personal opinions. I don't want any of your, you know, biases. Just give me the facts. And we used to say the facts were that when you were a little boy, you were taught how to feel, you were taught how to act, you were taught how to communicate, you were taught how to even think, and you were taught how to think about sex. And you were taught differently than your sister was. 99% of the men that I worked with in San Quentin, when I asked them their first thing that they knew about tears, what was the very first thing you heard about tears? And it was, I'll give you something to cry for. Stop crying. Be a man. And it didn't matter if they were black, Hispanic, Asian, or white. If you grew up in America and you were a little boy, your tears were inconvenient and uncomfortable. And mother, father, older brothers, siblings would try to limit your tears. There were men that would say things like, I haven't cried since I was 8. And then, you know, so, you know, you kind of probe and you ask, so you've never had any bad things happen to you? You've never had any disappointments? So, oh, my mom died and my son got killed in a car accident and I lost my job and you never cried? No. Why would I cry?
Peter, we have just a few moments left. I'd like to ask you what you would like to share that is very close to your heart for others, that is very important to you right now.
Well, I think there's a tenderness that we're really needing. You know, I go back to thinking about like President Obama was a community organizer. And the common unity, community actually means there's a common unity. And what I live for now is the common unity of tenderness. You know, how tender can we be to each other? How forgiving can we be? How much peace and love and how much understanding can we generate? How generous can we be? How creative? How spontaneous? You know, can we act like children and play?
You have a lot of wisdom, and thank you for all your great work that you do. And from the art of conscious living, please take care of yourselves and take care of others. Thank you.